Today on Eye in the Desert, I'm really pleased to welcome a gentleman I've enjoyed his writing for many, many years. New York Times bestselling author Dave Barry, author of dozens of books, both fiction and nonfiction. And you're going to be coming to Palm Springs. Dave, welcome to Eye in the Desert.
Thanks. Good to be here.
We're excited about you coming and part of a speaker series, Palm Springs Speaks. And you can go to the website, palmspringspeaks.org, to get tickets. You're going to be here on Tuesday, May the 9th. And it's a great time for you to be on a tour because you've got a brand new book coming out, a new novel.
Yeah, it's called Swamp Story, and it's set in the Everglades. I live in Miami, which is right next to the Everglades, maybe too close to the I don't know. But it's just a strange juxtaposition. You got this really weird city, Miami, and then you have the Everglades, which has its own weird creatures, both areas. So they sort of come together in this book.
Now, obviously, you've been a columnist, and one of the things I enjoy reading are the the collections of those columns. But you write both fiction and nonfiction, and very deftly both. Which do you prefer, or do you have a preference?
Well, I got my start. I first of all, I should stress that when I write nonfiction, it's still a lot of lies. I mean, in fact, when I was, for many years, I wrote a newspaper column, humor column, and I used to, the column would appear in the newspaper, and it would say things like, as we all know, Abraham Lincoln invented the light bulb, a joke. I thought anyway that it was obvious to everybody that that was not true, but I would inevitably get mail from what I call the humor impaired, who would write and say, no, I don't know what you're doing in a newspaper. Abraham Lincoln didn't invent the light bulb. Benjamin Franklin invented the, they would usually be just as wrong as I was, but at least I knew I was wrong. But anyway, to answer your question, and believe me, I remember that you asked one. They're different. I always liked writing the column because it was basically like jokes. Think of a joke, think of another joke, think of another. And I didn't have to worry about organization or anything like that. I just wanted to amuse the readers. When you write a novel, you have to think about, I don't want to get too technical here, a plot. So there has to be some, organization to what you're doing. And there has to be some consistency that you create a world where, things happen that they have to make some sense to the reader, at least in the world you're creating, has to come out all right in the end. The good guys have to triumph, the bad guys have to suffer, whatever. So you have to pay more attention to organization, things like that. And I like that once I'm done with the organization part, once I figured out what I'm going to do, then I enjoy writing fiction, because then I don't have to think joke. I can think more in terms of what would they say, what would they do, and then try to get humor in where it fit naturally. So I like them both, to be honest.
Now, you just talked a little bit about the humor impaired, and I think that's grown to near crisis levels these days. Is it harder for you and your comedy is frequently irreverent? And as you said, sometimes you have to point out, no, that's a joke. Yeah. But I think it's tougher these days, isn't it?
I absolutely agree. And everybody I talk to in the humor biz kind of has the same reaction. Like, why have we lost our sense of humor? Why are we're not allowed to make jokes about this, and some of it I get, I think, there have been injustices that we, humorists have sort of ignored over the years, but some of it is just ridiculous. One of the things I learned early on writing a humor columns, anything you write will offend somebody. There's never going to be a way to write a joke that doesn't offend someone. The question is, should that one person or be allowed to declare that no one else is allowed to see that joke ever? Sometimes I guess that makes some sense, but it's just gone way too far in that direction where, if there's a danger that someone will be upset, you're not supposed to do it. This is why comedians, many, will no longer work on college campuses at all. They're the most sensitive places in the country now. It used to be colleges where people thought freely and spoke freely. Not anymore.
Yeah, it used to be that was where the big ideas were welcome, and yes, now it's kind of a islands of intolerance in many cases.
Exactly, and so like that was it used to be a major venue for comedians, especially kind of mid-level, just, trying to keep working comedians can't do it anymore because just everything is off limits. Nobody's allowed to joke about anything ever. And it is filtered into almost every form of humor. What's funny is that certain people, like, Dave Chappelle is a good example, and Louis C.K. for different reasons, really, but have kind of become more successful because they're saying, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to say what I want to say. And there's like an audience for that. There's a market for that people just like, I'm glad somebody just feels free to just say stuff. But many comedians are restricted, I think, and it's hurt the comedy world.
Well, we look forward to seeing you again Tuesday. It is May the 9th, and there are tickets on sale at Palm Springs Speaks. You're going to be at the Palm Springs Cultural Center, and there is a VIP ticket available for a meet and greet. I'll be there. Look forward to meeting you in person, but thanks for joining us here on Eye on the Desert.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.